Welcome to episode 7 of Sports Talk on Our Time. My name is Frank Verdecchia, and I am here with my colleague, retired Pittsburgh Trib sports writer, Jerry DiPaola. Jerry, how you doing today?
Great, Frank. How are you? The FCC hasn't banned us yet, right?
Not yet, no.
Okay, good.
We're still going. This is number 7, so we're rocking.
Lucky number 7.
So what's on your mind here with I know Broderick Jones you got a beef with.
Yeah, I'm concerned, Frank. I can't sleep. I can't eat. My hair's falling out. I'm so darn concerned about Broderick Jones only being 285 pounds and getting a slow get off here in St. Vincent College training camp. I think these people should loosen up a little bit and not worry so much about what happens in practice, okay? If Broderick Jones has a bad game Saturday night in Jacksonville, then I think we can start worrying because, like we said on previous podcasts, the Steelers have very little depth on the offensive line. Any injury or poor effort or poor performance by one of those starters could doom the season. Because the offensive line, to me, is probably the most important position on the field next to quarterback, and your quarterback can't function if he's on his butt all the time, especially if he's 41 years old.
And he's 41 years old and can't move like he used to. And
but people don't need to worry so much about.
Left tackles. I get it, but left tackles are paid big bucks for a reason, and he's 20 pounds lighter. We really don't know why he lost all that weight. Maybe
that's a good question.
Better footwork. I mean, hopefully his footwork's better, but like a beat writer Mark Caboli was saying, he's not getting off the line as fast as he should be.
If Caboli says it must be true, right?
Well, there you go.
We worked with Caboli. He was a Trib guy at one time, right?
Yeah, that's right.
I have a lot of respect for Mark. He's one of the top NFL writers around. And he's probably right. And he watches practice every day. We don't. But again, my only point is let's not get so concerned right now on August the 4th.
Well, here's a concern, though. If he isn't that good, they don't have, like you brought this up a couple weeks ago, they don't have any depth. Dylan Cook, Calvin Anderson's injured, and who's Calvin Anderson? So if he looks bad Saturday against Jacksonville, you're going to have to maybe think about at some point Faltano going to the other side.
Maybe I'm not. I run my life a little different. I worry about things until you need to worry about them.
That's true. That's true.
And I really think that we don't need to worry about it right now. Like I said, we may need to worry about it when we're doing the show next Monday. And the Steelers quarterbacks were knocked down 5 times, and Jones had a bad game. Maybe even got benched. I'm sure he won't play the whole game anyway. Then we can start worrying because the season's is a month away, but there's a lot of time. And Jones is playing a position he didn't play last year. Now he's supposed to be a natural left tackle, so it shouldn't be a huge transition. But that doesn't mean he's going to be an all-pro. He doesn't need to be an all-pro. Just be a good player. Even if he's a little bit above average, I think it'll be fine.
All he needs to be is average. Just be serviceable, I think, or a little bit better than serviceable. Let me go a little above that. But he's a former first-round pick. I thought he had an excellent rookie season.
That's the thing.
Last year he struggled immensely, and they claimed he's playing out of position, and now he's back where he's supposed to be. But
they traded up to get him, right? Didn't they trade up to get him?
They traded up to get him as well, and and that's he's got a lot of pressure on him.
They've done that before and it didn't work out so well.
No, they haven't had a good left tackle since Villanueva in 2020. That's the last time that position's been filled by.
And he was moved from tight end too.
Yeah, he was a Pro Bowler. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But the other thing that I'm concerned about, and not concerned about it, I'm really excited about Will Howard. My goodness, he took his first snap at training camp, didn't fumble it, and all of a sudden people think he's the next coming of Ben Roethlisberger. Oh. I was reading something today from somebody who was writing something on the internet that said that the Steelers may not need to draft a quarterback in the first round next season because Will Howard's going to step up and be their starting quarterback. Well, maybe, but you and I made this point, and you made a good point. We were talking earlier today that if he didn't win a national championship at Ohio State and he didn't play for such a high-profile program, nobody would care too much about Will Howard.
Absolutely nobody would care.
Plus, he's been a good guy. He's been a good talker. He's made some good comments in his interviews. He comes across well. He looks like a fine young man.
He's got a good attitude. He's willing to learn. He wants Aaron Rodgers. He wants to absorb everything he can from Aaron Rodgers. But he was taken in the 6th round. And like I said, if it wasn't for that Ohio State colors and that national championship, he would be just another quarterback that they took late. But T. Martin was taken in the 6th round. He won a national championship. How well did T. Martin do? If you're banking on a Tom Brady, you might as well play the Powerball. and it's just, yeah. I mean, he says all the right things, and he is. You got to be rooting for him, but it's reality. Reality can bite a lot of
One
times.
thing that has, he was fed this Will Howard mania is that Aaron Rodgers threw the interception on his first throw in practice in the first day of training camp, and Howard has been pretty good, most of the time out at camp. So again, the people sit on a hill and they see this guy, and the most popular guy in town is always a backup quarterback, but he's the backup to the backup right now.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think we should go to pump the brakes on Will Howard. Maybe someday he will be a good quarterback and a guy the Steelers can count on. But for now, he's going to throw 2 touchdown passes in the fourth quarter against guys who are going to be stocking shelves in September. And everybody's going to get excited. Trade Aaron Rodgers. We don't need him anymore. We got Will Howard. Put him in. I didn't play.
They're going to say, what they'll say is we don't need Mason Rudolph. Put him as the third string. This guy needs to learn as much as possible. Get him on the field. Do this, do that, and who knows? He might, but it's just you're asking a lot. I just think
there's a lot of
next year.
There's a lot of optimism surrounding the Steelers.
It's kind of like OTAs, Jerry. There's optimism at OTAs. It's August. The season hasn't started yet. I remember '98, how excited they were in 1998. That was going to be a big year because they came off that AFC Championship, and they lost obviously. But Cordell, they expected Cordell to still be a stud quarterback, and he wasn't. And I think they went 7-9. They lost like their last 5 games of the year.
That could happen this year.
Yeah.
Peyton Wilson, the linebacker, second-year linebacker from NC State, came out and said he's the best cover linebacker in the world. He said
in the world.
In the world. And DK Metcalf, who's been in the league 7 years, said he's never played with a better defense than the Steelers, what the Steelers defense has right now.
Yeah.
And if that's true, it's going to be a nice season. The defense is going to maybe carry the offense for a while early in the season when the schedule is not as difficult. But I think we need to pump the brakes a little bit. Let's play some games and see how things turn out.
You don't know yet. You're right. They do have better opportunities at certain positions that they haven't had in a while. Cornerbacks, one place,
But we have to talk about it. People need when Stewart talk is everybody wants to hear it, even though a lot of it doesn't make any sense. You and I think, are making more sense than anybody else.
That's right. Yeah, I can't think of anybody else. That's true. But staying with football though, college football.
Yes.
Penn State ranked number 3 in the first coaches poll, and I find, like I said, I pose this question: is it better to think you're good and lose, or know you're good and lose?
Well, it's worse to know you're good and lose, and that's what happened to Penn State. The last couple of years. Not that they're losing, and they're just not winning all the big games they should win. They had a nice season last year, made the college football playoff. Advanced a little bit in it. They lost to Notre Dame, but that's to be expected sometimes. You can't win every big game you play. And James Franklin has not won many big games over the years.
No, he hasn't won. He hasn't, and he's so arrogant. I mean, for a guy who's never won anything, I mean, the arrogance with Freeman last year, trying to act like he was this big shot over him, and at Penn State, they want national championships, and you understand why.
They haven't had one in a while. Long time.
Fans want Super Bowls. Mike Tomlin's never had a losing season. They couldn't care less. Super Bowls. I mean,
and Franklin has won a lot of games. He's won 101 games in 11 seasons at Penn State. And I realize it's 2 different situations, but if Pat Narduzzi won 11 games, 101 games in 11 seasons, you'd be leading the play down Fifth Avenue.
If Pat Narduzzi won 8 games every year or 9, they'd put a statue of him up in maybe about 25 years.
That's true.
But that's a different thing. No kids are lining up to go to Pitt. Central Catholic. There's a pipeline to Penn State. All these Central Catholic kids. That's all they want to go to is Penn State. The best players in the state want to go to Penn State.
I've been to games up there, and it's quite an atmosphere. It's an
atmosphere, and that's also why Narduzzi has his moments. But why I respect Narduzzi more than Franklin is that Narduzzi's, winning those 7-8 games with kids that aren't 4- and 5-star recruits. He's taking kids that are being overlooked and turning them into football players. And I'd love to see James Franklin coach if he had to get Narduzzi's recruits. I would love to see it. Because he would not do well at all. He would be at Cal U right now if he had to use. They would have gotten rid of him.
I just want to see James Franklin coach against Pat Narduzzi one time before I die.
Well, you might. I wouldn't count on it, but you might. You might. But like you were saying, Pitt should play West Virginia every year. This is the last time they're going to play until 2029, and Pitt schedules Pitt's schedule's difficult this year.
They need to sit down. Ellen Green needs to sit down and schedule with West Virginia, Ren Baker AD, and schedule those games beyond the season. Because this game they're playing in Morgantown this year is the last one until 2029. And that's 26, 27, 28, 3 years without it. You're not playing Penn State. You're not playing West Virginia. You're not playing Notre Dame every year. You got Notre Dame this year at home. It'll be a big game. But I think they need to play that game every year. Whether that's going to happen or not, I wouldn't be surprised. I won't be surprised if there's an announcement coming up in the next month or so.
That would definitely benefit. And like I said, you could make it an annual thing. Pitt, West Virginia starts off the first game of the season every year. I think ESPN would be champing at the bit to have a Thursday night game every year.
And two of the three games so far have been good games.
Oh, they've been excellent games.
Yeah, Pitt had to come back and win the last one. The last two they had to come back and win.
Yeah, the only one that was awful was when you got Phil Dracovic at quarterback, you might as well throw the towel in before you even do it.
Let's not get on poor Phil Dracovic. I talked to him. I talked to his dad. He's a nice guy. Comes from a great family.
Sure he is. Didn't want to give Pitt the time of day, though, when he was at Pine Richland. Then all of a sudden he wants to come play.
Yeah, well, that was Frank Signetti. I have a lot of respect for Frank Signetti.
Well, that's having a rotary dial phone in a smartphone era right there.
He put all his eggs in the Phil Dracovic basket, and that was his undoing. But I still like Frank, and I have a lot of respect for him. But sometimes it doesn't work out. It didn't work out for Matt Canada with the Steelers. Football's a tough game. Playing quarterback's a difficult thing to do. I was surprised. I thought Dracovic could be a much better quarterback at Pitt than he was, because he played pretty well at Boston College against Pitt in that overtime game several years ago. But Penn State's number 3. Pitt in the coaches poll, Pitt is not ranked, but their schedule's difficult. Pitt's schedule is difficult this year. Notre Dame's number 5. They're on the schedule, like I said. Miami's number 10. They're on the schedule.
And they don't play well against Louisville. They have whether Louisville's good or not. They don't play well against Louisville. Georgia Tech gives them headaches. Pitt is, there's no for sure. I mean, Duquesne, they're going to beat Duquesne, obviously, and they're playing some other cupcake the second week of the season.
Central Michigan. Yeah.
But they could easily be 2-2 after 4 games. And you look at that schedule, nothing's a sure thing. But hey, there's one other thing I wanted to say too. We talk about recruiting a lot, and we talk about the NIL and so forth. And it reminded me of something like the way times have changed so much. I was talking about Walt Harris and the way Walt was a quarterback legend. I mean, quarterback guru, coach legend. He said something. The way things are, like Texas is ranked number 1, and they got Arch Manning. Arch Manning's going to get $6.8 million this year. I think last year he got 6.3. The year before that he got 3.2. He's thrown 92 passes so far. I'm sure he's going to be an excellent quarterback, but you have to keep on doing it. And Walt said something in '99 that I'll never forget. I was at a news conference, and this was 26 years ago, and I remember it. And it was before the season. They'd just gotten Rod Rutherford, and Rutherford was Terrell Pryor at that time from Perry. And Walt was asked before the start of training camp, does he have a chance to start? And Walt, he gave that look like, are you kidding me? And he was like, nice guy he was. He's like, we work hard to get these guys. And once they sign, we sort of de-recruit them. And it just is like, hey, you're signed. Now we own you now. And we're going to teach you how to play football. If you're not good enough, it's, that's on you.
Back then, they could afford to de-recruit guys. Now they have to re-recruit guys.
Exactly.
If a coach looks at a kid funny, all of a sudden he wants to transfer. And coaches, walk on eggshells around some of these kids sometimes, and make sure they can keep them. Now, Pitt was fortunate to be able to keep Holstein and Reed. But are they have enough of them? Kyle Lewis stayed, and they're getting pretty good coin to stay.
Exactly. And you look at that area, you look at a player like Rutherford. He waited 3 years to get his shot, and he had an excellent 2 seasons. I mean, he had Larry Fitz to throw to, but you wait. Kids don't wait today. Manning's waiting, but Manning waited, but Manning's being paid, like an
Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett waited, and he won an ACC championship.
But Kenny Pickett got the start, though. Kenny
became
Pickett
a first-round choice.
I mean, Rutherford,
he could have left.
Yeah, he could have left. I mean, I agree.
I give Narduzzi credit for keeping a guy like Pickett around. Who knows what goes on in the off season when the reporters aren't around and those players come into Narduzzi's office and he shuts the door. And he tries to talk him into and stay in the pit. And Pickett had to be probably convinced to stay. Notre Dame was tampering with him. Notre Dame had tampered with Servassier Dennis too. I shouldn't say Notre Dame, but other teams tampered with him. And Holstein told me in this past February, that he was tampered with by some teams he didn't
Oh
want
yeah,
to name.
Jordan Addison got tampered with. I mean, that's another thing.
And Addison at the time he was tampered with wasn't in the portal, and Holstein was never in the portal.
No.
Dennis was never in the portal, and Pickett was never in the portal. They were tampered with anybody, but these days nobody cares anymore about that. So I give Narduzzi credit for keeping Kyle Lewis and Reed and Desmond Reed.
And someone there must be a chest of money somewhere to be able to pay for these guys, because it's just it. I mean, it's all about the cash. You got to have
the kind of chest you see in Columbus or State College.
Absolutely not. If they had it, they would get the players. Money talks. It does not matter. It's no longer like I just said about all these kids want to go to Penn State. Okay, but Penn State has the chest of money to pay them. If Pitt had more money than Penn State to spend, I think a lot of kids would say, well, the money's over here. Why am I going over there? We could make, basketball's the same way. It's all about the cash.
Well, why do you think I'm doing this podcast and delaying my dinner by an hour and a half? Because of the money you're paying me.
It's all about the cash. It's all about the Benjamins, Jerry. That's what like Bob Nutting says, Jerry. It's all about the Benjamins.
If I go out to my mailbox tomorrow morning and there's no check from Frank Verdecchia, there won't be any podcast next Monday.
There's a better chance you're going to get one from Bob Nutting. And so, what do you think of Bob Nutting at the trade deadline, Jerry?
Well, I think I'm more upset with Ben Cherington than with Bob Nutting these days. I mean, it's easy to criticize Nutting for not spending, and he should spend more, obviously. But there are small market teams that are winning. And the Pirates don't seem to be making any effort to win. And then Cherington gets on the radio yesterday, and he lies to us. Okay, here's the quote. On 93.7 The Fan, if we make a trade involving a player on a contract, as we did in the case with Key Bryan, we would never make a trade in order to save money. That's never been a part of our calculus. Now, what do you think of that quote? Do you think he's telling the truth? Or he's just saying something, hoping the fans will lap it up?
He's lying, and it's a combination of both. He's lying, and he's hoping the fans will lap it up. But I mean, all right, you got Verdecchia Brian Hayes. He stinks. I mean, you do the same thing with or without him.
I have no problem trading Hayes.
Bednar, they gave Bednar away, but you know what? Closers, when I saw them win in 13, 14, 15, they had Grimsley as their closer. I mean, you can find a closer. That's kind of the last thing on their list of what they need. But getting rid of Falter for some guy who's this is his first year playing in the majors. The other guy they got for him is their 25th ranked, Kansas City's 25th ranked prospect, and you gave up a legitimate left-handed starter, a back of the rotation guy. He's got an ERA under 4, 7-5 record, and he's making $2.2 million a year. You're worried about what you're going to have to pay him in arbitration, and it's like, why? What's he going to make next year? $8 million? You can't afford to pay him $8 million?
I guess they feel they have so many good young arms, either in the minors or on a team right now. They can afford not to pay a guy like Falter.
Well, I mean, you don't know when Jared Jones is coming back. Bubba Chandler didn't come up this year. Okay, you got Skeens, Chandler, and Jones. That's if healthy. That's
Oviedo's pitching tonight.
Yeah. But you get that left-hander. I mean, that's.
Oh yeah, it was a bad trade.
Well, let's just say this: they double his salary, so now it's like maybe $5 million. And the Pirates can't take a $5 million salary.
You know what? They do some strange things over there, and I don't get it. And I had no problem with them trading Hayes. Hayes was making a lot of money, and that to me was about money. You're not doing it to give guys opportunities, because Cherington made a point Thursday night of saying, one of the times we made these trades to give other people an opportunity. He wanted to give Jared Triolo an opportunity in his 1.61 batting average, which is 75 points below what Hayes was hitting.
Yeah.
So I don't think that you traded Hayes just so you can get Jared Triolo some at bats.
You traded
Hayes because he's making too much money.
It's a power position, and you're playing Rafael Belliard there.
Now,
it seems like
you made a good point there. If they come up in the offseason and get a third baseman who's going to get 25 home runs and hit around 270 or 280, they have no problem with trading Hayes.
Absolutely.
I'll come on this podcast and I'll say it. It was a good thing they traded Hayes because they got this guy who's going to hit 25 home runs. But until they do that, I'm going to say it was a bad deal because they don't know anybody who can take his place and become the power bat you need in the corner infield position.
Well, until the offseason so far, they kept Keller, they kept Cruz, and they kept Reynolds. So there's 3 players that are they're foundation players for this team. I don't know what that says. That doesn't say much, but they didn't just throw them away. Now Keller could go in the offseason. You've talked about that, and you can get better players in the offseason than you can trade.
But if Keller goes in the offseason, he better go for a bat. You know, somebody, a major league player who can hit. They're last in the National League in batting average at 233. They're last in Major League Baseball with only 399 runs, which is about 3.5 per game. They need bats, and if you're going to trade a guy like Keller in the offseason, which I think they probably would do or should do, you better do it, and don't get single-A guys to help you. You know, right now, the trades they made last week, I think 6 of the guys they got in return, 5 of the 6 guys they got in return are going to play in Greensboro, and they're single-A.
And we'll never see them up here. Never. I mean, KC, 25th overall prospect. Please. Right. You know, I'm 26th.
They really have a lot of guys that they're playing on the cheap. I want to give my old friend Bob Smizek some credit for a tweet he had today, which I thought was interesting. He said there aren't that many, maybe no players in Indianapolis, hitters in Indianapolis, who are good enough to come up to the majors. But there's several players in the majors, the Pirate roster right now, that should be in the minors.
Yeah.
And he mentioned Alexander Canario, Jack Sawinski, Henry Davis, and Triolo, who are batting. Listen to this, Frank. In the last 170 combined at bats, those 4 guys, 16 hits.
Jeez.
They're hitting .094 in the last 170 at bats.
And what's even sadder is that Henry Davis was a first overall pick.
Starting third baseman.
And here's another thing, too, about taking their first round pick. Okay, Skeens, you had to take. They just took another pitcher. That's great. But when that kid makes it up here, he only plays once every 5 days. So you have once every 5 games. So sometimes you have to wonder, you know, if I'm taking a pitcher, I'm not getting every day out of them. And if I'm not going to, you know, do I need to get bats? You need bats. Connor Griffin is the #1 prospect right now with MLB Pipeline. He's expected to come up in 2027, knowing the Pirates. He's only 19 years old, so knowing the Pirates, that means 2030 because they'll want to keep him during his he'll be hitting 405.
He's not ready. He's not ready.
Well, you know, we don't want to lose any of those years out of him.
I'm glad you brought up Skeens because he said something last week where he sort of called out management for not doing enough in the offseason. I showed you that quote. He had a 93.7 The Fan 2 Sundays ago after a game. And I think if I was Paul Skeens, I don't think he's going to I shouldn't say if I was Paul Skeens because he's much smarter than I am.
Better arm.
Much better arm, yeah. But I think what I would do if Paul Skeens should do is go to Bob Nutting, go to Ben Cherington, the GM, if he's still the GM in November, and say, hey, you know, you got to do something to help me out here. There's a good chance he's going to get $25 or $30 million a year in arbitration before the 2028 season. You know, the Pirates going to pay that $30 million for a starting pitcher? No, I don't think so. No, so in the meantime, do something this offseason to get guys like Canario and Sawinski off the roster and get guys in Troyola, get guys who can hit. You know, so you can take advantage of Skeens' natural ability.
I've been saying that. You got to go all in these next 2 years, whatever that means for Nutting. It doesn't mean the same as it does for other people, but for Nutting, spend a little bit of money. You have this unicorn. Put somebody around him. Put guys around him, and see. You know, maybe you have. You know, maybe Reynolds is an all-star. Maybe he does come back. Maybe O'Neal Cruz is this guy that they're praying that he is. And then you make some. You pay a little bit of money. You up that payroll to 125 million, 130 million. He's not going to go broke. He's not going to lose money, and he's not going to do it. So it's terrible.
I don't think it's going to happen, Frank. But you know, we can always hope. You know, we can always hope.
That's right. We always can. So, well, Jerry, it was another excellent chat with you this week.
This was a good one. The FCC hasn't banned this yet. I'm all excited. But football season's starting. We can analyze the games starting in September.
That's right.
Pitt has a game August the 31st or August the 30th, right?
Yeah.
What's that? 2 weeks from this Saturday or 3 weeks?
Right. You said you're going on vacation next week, so maybe you can do it from the beach.
I'll be at the Jersey Shore, and I'll in Avalon, New Jersey, and we'll talk about the Steelers preseason game and anything that might have occurred with Pitt and the Pirates over the past next 6 days, and we're just having a good time doing this, Frank. And I'm glad that. And if my check isn't there tomorrow, I'll wait until Wednesday.
Wait another day then.
I can wait another day.
All right, Jerry. Take care, brother.
All right, buddy. Have a good night.
See you later. Bye.